Well, Syria is, of course, one of the biggest foreign policy challenges facing Donald Trump. The US president is focused on international diplomacy all this week, holding high-stakes meetings with 3 world leaders. Yesterday, he rolled out the red carpet for the Egyptian president, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. They agreed to work together to fight terror, but critics say Mr. Trump's warm welcome wasn't fit for a strongman who seized power in a military coup. Well, next, President Trump meets with Jordan's King Abdullah tomorrow, then the Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday and Friday. Mr. Trump is also getting an update on the war in Iraq from his son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner. You can see pictures of him there. He was dispatched to Baghdad to meet with top officials. Well, let's bring in our senior international correspondent, Ben Wedeman, who's live in Erbil, Iraq. We're also joined by senior Washington correspondent Joe Johns at the White House. First, I'll go to Joe. Just looking at this Syrian attack, it seems to be a chemical attack. Many Republicans, like John McCain, are saying the last administration under President Obama didn't tackle this. So can we expect any real action from the Trump administration?
To be quite honest with you, Linda, there are people here in Washington, D.C. who right now are pointing the finger at the Trump administration, specifically the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, who just last week suggested, while he was in Turkey, that at the end of the day, it will be the Syrian people who decide the fate of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. So some suggestion, including from Senator John McCain this morning, that there may be some linkage between the Syrian attack that has occurred and the administration's decision to sort of weigh in on the side of fighting ISIS instead of going after Bashar al-Assad. An interesting position for this Trump administration to find itself in the first 100 days, Linda.
Yeah, it certainly is. I just want to go to Ben now on Iraq. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, meeting with military officials and the Prime Minister there. He has no political or diplomatic experience. He is there before the Secretary of State. It's certainly raising a lot of eyebrows.
Yes, well, it's important to keep in mind that the Secretary of Defense Mattis has visited Iraq since the beginning of the Trump presidency, but certainly the fact that the son-in-law and the special advisor to the president, 36-year-old Jared Kushner, is coming to Baghdad before the Secretary of State sends a message. It sends a message to Iraqis, one they're not unfamiliar with, that perhaps closeness in terms of family terms is more important than your diplomatic, your official status within the government. And yes, he has no diplomatic experience, no military experience. He's never been to Iraq. And of course, Mr. Kushner also has a long list of other responsibilities dealing with the relationship between the United States and Mexico, Canada, and China, as well as the Arab-Israeli conflict. That's just to name a few. Iraq is a conflict that has kept many American officials busy around the clock for years. How he's going to deal with this one, frankly, it's not altogether clear. But many Iraqis are, despite all of that, well disposed to President Trump. They appreciate what they perceive as a strong man, something that has some history here in this country. We've seen, for instance, Iraqis naming their children after President Trump. One Iraqi naming his fish restaurant after President Trump. So in a sense, despite yet another departure from decades of diplomatic convention, what Mr. Kushner is doing here representing President Trump isn't something altogether unheard of here in Iraq.
It is interesting that he certainly has some fans there. Joe, I just want to go back to you. Yesterday we saw President Trump in the White House meeting with the Egyptian president, a man who has been accused of carrying out human rights violations. It certainly was an unusual scene there at the White House.
Unusual in a lot of ways. I think you can say it is certainly true that President Sisi had been looking to get this picture with the President of the United States meeting in the Oval Office, the seal of approval, if you will, from the power of the United States. And it was rare, quite frankly, because this is an invitation that was never extended to President Sisi during the time Barack Obama was in the White House, because he didn't invite him simply because there was an issue with human rights. He got the picture that he wanted. He got the open embrace of the United States and really a restart in relations between the government of Egypt and a government of the United States, Lynda.
All right, Joe Johns in Washington and Ben Wedeman in Erbil, Iraq. Great to have you both with us. Thanks so much.